Today's soap of the day is Italian Barber. This is a pretty inexpensive soap. Usually you can find it for about $3 thereabouts. Pretty inexpensive. Got the aftershave go right along with it. Alum block with rubber band, and it's getting somewhat smaller. Humphrey's witch hazel, lilac, and the razor of the day is a Windrose OC Slant R3. And this is what all that looks like. It's not a lightweight razor. Don't recall right off the top of my head how much this thing weighs, but see if you can see that. It looks, the head will look similar to Phoenix Arts and Accoutrements OC Slant. You kind of see it resembles that. And let's see if I can get this to see if you can see that there is a difference in the length. So in other words, there is no overhang. That can go both ways when it comes to an overhang. Already put the hot towel to the face, bloom water. The reason why I bring that up is that the overhang, in other words, if you're shaving underneath your nose or something like that, it won't, you don't have to worry about the overhang catching your nose if there isn't any. But with that overhang, it makes it a little bit easier to adjust the blade alignment a little bit if need be. So I guess you might say that if your razor tolerances are a little bit more forgiving and allow more wiggle, and you don't have overhang, it makes it a lot more difficult to adjust that blade inside that head like that. I got this whipped up here in my got this bowl at thrift store. This is a brush from Metalworks. It's got a synthetic knot and got it good whipped up and a little bit on the wet side. I got quite a bit of lather in here to work with. Go ahead and get lathered up here. This razor comes by the way of an Etsy site, Razors and More, and this company is in the UK. So if you're wondering where you might be able to pick up one of those razors, because they got different kinds. Depends on what you're wanting, what you're looking for. I saw some with a, I guess you might say a standard head with a safety bar. Various different kinds of handles. And of course at various different prices. Yes, and I am dripping lather all over my shirt. And I don't know if you can see that blade in there. And the on the comb, the teeth are pretty well rounded, which is a lot like how this one is. Going to give it a try and see how it works. Like I said, the website indicates that this is a, on the aggression level, it'll be about a medium. And about like anything else, it also will depend on what you're used to, whether you consider it a medium aggression or not. So far there's a little bit of a blade feel, but it's not to the point where, how can you say it's concerning? It's just letting you know it's there. The blade that I have in here is a Personna blade. It's a brand new one. Typically it's a pretty good blade to go with most razors for me. Astra SP is another one. The handle is made out of stainless steel, I think 303. It has a bit of weight behind it. And this handle is not short, which is fine for me. I can go either way when it comes to handles. It takes me a little bit more sometimes to get used to a short or a lightweight handle, but heavy is my preference, I guess you might say, and this one is on the heavy side. First pass so far. Seems to be pretty efficient on the first pass with the grain. It feels like right now that you could almost probably go straight to against the grain pass and pick up the majority of what's left over already. It doesn't feel aggressive, like I said. You could just tell that the blade is there. It's not quite like a Gillette Old Type, for instance. That blade, that razor there lets you know that the blade is there and then some. It's to me, that's a pretty aggressive razor, more so than the R41. It's I get some pretty smooth, comfortable shaves with an R41, and I guess it's just the idea of having feeling that much of the blade. Guess you might say it keeps you honest, because once you start to feel the blade, you're going to pay extra attention to what you're doing, because there could be an or else. Soap smells great. Not always do I smell the soap.
I love you.
My daughter's soap. The finish on the head, I should say, is satin. So you'll see that it is slightly different than the handle. For me, it wasn't all that noticeable in the picture. Just noticed a little bit, but thought maybe it's just a picture when I was checking them out. I'm glad they worked out a deal shipping internationally, because the shipping on this was, since it was international, was pretty inexpensive. Across the grain, of course, I've already taken off some of the whiskers. Across the grain doesn't feel quite as aggressive. Not that it felt aggressive, but it's less than with the grain. I guess for some, if you're concerned about open comb and a slant, this one here feels pretty comfortable. I would say it just looks real aggressive because the size, the way the teeth look. I wouldn't let that intimidate you. To be honest with you, as it goes for blade feel, the shave feel, this one here, it feels somewhat more aggressive than this Windrose. If that helps any at all. But I have to tell you though, this is a very efficient razor. At least for me it is. My experience has been that it's very efficient. Just, excuse me, about that much in the way of pickups when I'm done. It's very efficient. that one strip right through there. We'll see how much of it picks up on the against the grain. If it's typical, there'll be a little bit left there. It's not the easiest to catch with the razor. We'll see how it works. Trying to get all the lather I can get. This knot's a pretty good size knot if I remember right. Can't remember if it's 24 or 26. It's a good size knot. Soap's working out pretty well for me. It's fairly slick. That is one thing with a, I've noticed that, at least with my experience, is the difference between a shaving with a DE and a shavette. What kind of slickness you need for each one. Like how this feels going across the grain. There's a certain amount of feedback to it, but still feels very comfortable. You know, I've tried off and on with the buffing pattern, motion I should say. For certain razors it's really easy for me to catch on to use, and certain razors that it's not, and this is not one of them. I feel more comfortable with, I guess you might say, my normal strokes as opposed to a buffing motion. I found that usually with most of my excuse me, my injectors, it seems to be easier for me to use a buffing motion with my injectors, and with some other gems that seems to be easier for me to do. There are a few DEs if depends on the weight. I think that might be the key right there, is the weight. Yeah, I picked up most of it. Soap's pretty slick. It's creamy. Feels good on the face. In other words, it doesn't feel like it's drying out my face or anything like that. Feels moisturized, if you will. Yeah, pretty good, I'd have to say. Not finding any places where it feels like maybe I got the pressure wrong, the angle wrong, all the above. Let's go ahead and get started with the alum block here. It's kind of an odd place because I don't always get stinging there, and I've got it right down in here, both sides. It's a new razor, it's first time using it, so overall I'd have to say it's a pretty good shave. My normal redness, I guess you might say, is typical. Doesn't mean that there's irritation there, it's just I guess you might say, the nature of the beast. Really like this brush handle. Kind of goes right along with the razor. Just has a wee bit of weight behind it. Looks nice. Guess you might say prestigious. It's one of those razor shaving brushes that when I walk by I see it, you know, and I gotta stop and admire it for a quick moment. Really like it. Looks wonderful. This lilac witch hazel. I smell it when I first pour it in my hand, but afterwards I don't really notice it that much. So it's either my nose is quickly adjusts to it and then doesn't pick it up anymore, or the scent does dissipate, because I don't really smell it on my hand either. It's kind of odd. You would have thought that, you know, since I smell it first pouring it out, that I would pick it up, you know, a little bit later on, but I'm not smelling the lilac. Could be just my nose too. I have had the soap for a moment, and every time I'd be ready, prepared to order some more stuff from Italian Barber, this would always be sold out. And finally, everything come together, the stars lined up, and I finally got me some. It's kind of funny how that works. The whole package, the whole thing together is pretty inexpensive. I'm wanting to say, see what, $3, $8, $11, $12, somewhere in there. In other words, it's pretty inexpensive once you get the soap and the aftershave. That's smell grapefruit. Sometimes scents I can pick up better than other days. Feels good on the face too. It's got a, and I don't think it's got any menthol, but it does feel like my face is cooling, if you will. I'd have to look at it again. I don't remember seeing that it has. Have to figure out what is it that's cooling that's in this one. This feels pretty good. For the price, that's hard to beat. Once again, razor of the day, Windrose R3 OC Slant. There is no overhang here, and there is just a little bit of a wiggle in the tolerance where the posts are at, and then where the blade's going to be at. Just a little bit. So in other words, hey, it may take you, I tried it a few times. Most of the time the blade lined up just fine. Only found that there was one time where the blade didn't line up and I had to carefully adjust it inside. And there's the blade of the day. Got these in a 100-pack Personna, referred to as Lab Blues. And got a blade bank over here. I have, in essence, I have more than one. You know, you have the little plastic tucks. I go ahead and stick the blades in there. Then I got another little plastic container over here that I put it in. And after it fills up, I'm going to wrap it up and it'll all go out. And it's going to be a moment before it's full. It's not a big one. It just, you know, it just takes a while to fill it up when you're primarily shaving with a shavette. This is what the inside of it looks like, if you can see that. Very comfortable, smooth. Kind of like this razor. It performs as an open comb just fine, but you don't, in my opinion, I don't really notice the slant. In other words, it's not like other slants that you find that are very, I guess you might say, a little bit on the aggressive side or something like that. It's like they said, it's a medium. It's you notice the blade, but it's still a very smooth, comfortable shave, and you don't get really that, you know, concerned about that blade feel that you sometimes get with a slant and or an open comb. Just a really nice shave today. Hope everybody is doing well. Stay safe. Smooth shaves to you.